Flash Gordon wasn't just another sci-fi movie from the 1980s. It was an explosion of color, camp, and pure space opera madness. With Queen's unforgettable soundtrack, over-the-top performances, and dazzling visuals, it carved out a cult following that still thrives today. But behind the glittering sets and wild costumes lies a treasure chest of strange stories, production chaos, and surprises you probably never knew. From studio fights to bizarre casting choices, here are 20 weird facts about Flash Gordon that will change the way you see this cult classic forever. Number 1. A Queen connection that almost didn't happen. When people think of Flash Gordon, one of the first things that comes to mind is Queen's unforgettable soundtrack. But here's the twist. The producers didn't originally want them. They first approached Pink Floyd, hoping the band's experimental style would suit the film's offbeat tone. However, scheduling conflicts and disagreements over creative control led to Floyd declining the offer. That's when Queen was brought in, and they seized the opportunity. Unlike traditional film composers, Queen wrote songs that fused directly with the visuals, giving the movie a driving rock opera feel. Brian May later said the project gave them complete freedom, something rare in the industry. Imagine Flash without that flash. Chorus. It wouldn't be the cult classic we know today. Number 2. George Lucas wanted Flash. First, long before Star Wars became the most iconic sci-fi saga in history, George Lucas had his sights set on Flash Gordon. He grew up reading the comic strips and watching the serials, and he wanted desperately to make a modern adaptation. Lucas approached King Features Syndicate, but Dino De Laurentiis had already secured the rights. With no other options, Lucas decided to create his own original space adventure, heavily inspired by Flash Gordon's pulp style: laser guns, princesses, evil emperors, and swashbuckling heroes. Ironically, when Flash Gordon hit theaters in 1980, critics accused it of ripping off Star Wars. In truth, the influence went the other way. Without Flash Gordon shutting Lucas out, the world might never have gotten Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader.
Are your men on the right pills?
Number 3. Schwarzenegger and Russell. Said no. Sam J. Jones may forever be Flash Gordon, but he wasn't the studio's first choice. Arnold Schwarzenegger auditioned for the role, but his thick Austrian accent was considered too distracting. Executives feared audiences wouldn't understand him. Kurt Russell was next in line, and he actually received an offer, but Russell declined, saying he found the script too campy. That left producers scrambling until Sam J. Jones, a former Marine and part-time model, caught their eye. Despite having limited acting experience, he had the athletic build and heroic charm they wanted. Though Jones didn't go on to become a Hollywood megastar, his version of Flash has since become legendary, cementing him as the ultimate cult hero of the 1980s.
Hello. We're from Earth. Friends.
Number 4. Sam J. Jones versus Dino De Laurentiis. Behind the colorful sets and outrageous costumes, real tension brewed between Sam J. Jones and producer Dino De Laurentiis. The two clashed constantly over Jones's pay, working hours, and even his lines. Arguments escalated so badly that Jones walked off before post-production was completed. Because of this, many of his lines had to be overdubbed by another actor during editing. Fans who listen closely can notice that his voice sometimes changes slightly between scenes. The fallout was so bitter that Jones's relationship with Hollywood soured, and it damaged his career momentum. What could have been the launch of a blockbuster star instead became his defining role, but at the cost of a strained legacy with the studio.
For God's sake! Strap yourselves down, quick!
Number 5. The camp was intentional. Some fans think the over-the-top acting, colorful sets, and exaggerated costumes of Flash Gordon were just accidents of bad filmmaking. But in truth, director Mike Hodges leaned into camp deliberately. He realized early on that trying to make Flash Gordon a serious, gritty sci-fi epic would only result in awkwardness. Instead, he decided to embrace the comic strip origins, exaggerating everything to the point of parody. Every scream, costume, and set piece was designed to feel like a splash page from a vintage comic. The result was a movie that critics didn't always understand, but one that fans later celebrated for its unique tone. In the end, Hodges' Gamble gave us a one-of-a-kind movie unlike anything else from the era. Number 6, Timothy Dalton almost didn't get cast. Timothy Dalton is best remembered today as James Bond, but in 1980 he was still carving out his career. When producers considered him for Prince Baron, they worried his background in Shakespearean theater made him too stiff for such a colorful role. Dalton, however, leaned into the seriousness, providing a perfect counterbalance to the outrageous performances around him. His stern, noble demeanor actually gave the film a sense of grounding. Without Dalton, Baron could have been forgettable, but instead he became a standout. Many fans even argue that his performance was the seed that later earned him the chance to play 007. For Dalton, Flash Gordon wasn't just a quirky role, it was an important stepping stone in his career.
To me!
Number 7, Ming the Merciless controversy. Max von Sydow's performance as Ming the Merciless is one of the film's highlights, but it wasn't without controversy. Ming had long been criticized as a yellow peril stereotype, a relic of old pulp fiction that portrayed villains as exaggerated Asian caricatures. Even in 1980, some critics felt the design was racially insensitive. Von Sydow, however, took the role seriously, delivering a commanding performance that elevated the character beyond his roots. Still, the debate about Ming's design persists today. Many argue that Sydow's acting gave the character dignity, while others think the stereotype should have been retired altogether. Regardless, Ming remains one of the most visually striking villains in sci-fi cinema, for better or worse.
Strategy.
Why don't they team up and overthrow him?
Team up? What does that mean?
Number 8, Ornella Moody's uncomfortable costumes. Ornella Moody, who played the sultry Princess Aura, may have looked stunning on screen, but she paid a heavy price for her costumes. The intricate metal accessories and skin-tight outfits were often painful to wear. Some left her with bruises and cuts, and filming became physically exhausting. Moody later revealed in interviews that some of her most seductive scenes were extremely difficult to perform because of how restrictive the costumes were. Yet she pushed through and ended up delivering one of the most memorable performances in the movie. Her combination of sensuality and danger gave Aura a cult following of her own, proving that sometimes pain really does equal beauty in the world of filmmaking. Number 9, the improvised football fight. One of the most famous scenes in Flash Gordon is the football fight in Ming's throne room. But what many fans don't know is that the sequence wasn't in the original script. Sam J. Jones, who had a background in football, suggested incorporating a sports-like element when asked how Flash should fight off Ming's guards. The crew quickly choreographed a new sequence, with Flash tossing and tackling enemies like a quarterback. Even the guards' confused reactions were genuine, since many of the extras weren't told about the sudden change. This improvisation gave the movie one of its most iconic and campy moments, showcasing Jones's athleticism and cementing Flash as the ultimate underdog hero.
We are going to empty your memory, as we might empty your pockets. Doctor.
No.
Number 10, the costume budget was massive. The sheer extravagance of Flash Gordon came with a price. Literally, Italian designer Danilo Donati was tasked with creating the film's wardrobe, and he went all out. From Ming's golden robes to Vultan's feathery armor, every costume was bursting with color and texture. The budget for costumes ballooned far beyond expectations, costing millions. Many of them weren't practical either. They were heavy, hot, and uncomfortable for the actors to wear under studio lights. Yet visually, the gamble paid off. The costumes gave the movie its unique, otherworldly identity. Today, collectors still praise Donati's designs, calling them works of wearable art. While critics mocked the movie, no one could deny that the costumes made it stand out in cinematic history.
Fulton, he has shown us the way. Stand with us and fight.
Against the Imperial fleet?
Number 11. Brian Blessed's legendary "Gordon's Alive"? Brian Blessed's booming delivery of "Gordon's Alive" became the most quoted line from the entire film. What's wild is that Blessed improvised the way he shouted it, projecting with such thunder that the sound team almost had to adjust levels. For decades, fans have yelled the line at him in the streets, and Blessed has always leaned into it, roaring it back in public interviews and conventions. He once joked that he could never escape Flash Gordon because strangers constantly request the line. But far from resenting it, he embraced it, saying it made him immortal in pop culture. Few lines in sci-fi history have matched its volume, humor, and enduring legacy.
Old Dad, our trap play worked. They'll follow me for sure.
Good!
Number 12. The rocket cycle struggles. The flying rocket cycles may have looked fun on screen, but filming them was a nightmare. Actors sat on shaky rigs, suspended in front of blue screens, while giant wind machines blasted them to simulate flight. The process was uncomfortable and left several cast members dizzy after long shooting sessions. On top of that, the wings strapped to the Hawkmen were heavy and awkward, making the scenes even harder to film. Special effects artists then had to layer in background footage frame by frame, a slow and tedious job in 1980. While the sequences look campy today, at the time they were a major technical challenge. The rocket cycle charge remains one of the movie's most iconic moments, despite the chaos behind it.
I've got her.
Where?
Section 409, Beta.
Number 13. Freddie Mercury's favorite project. Of all Queen's side projects, Freddie Mercury had a special love for Flash Gordon. He would often blast the soundtrack at home, enjoying how it broke away from traditional rock albums. Unlike standard records, this project let the band create experimental pieces tied to visuals, giving them freedom to explore wild musical landscapes. The soaring battle theme and heavy synth work reflected Mercury's love for the theatrical. Years later, the band used this experience when working on Highlander, another cult classic. For Mercury, Flash Gordon wasn't just a paycheck, it was a passion project. He reportedly kept memorabilia from the film and was proud that Queen's music became as important to the movie as its visuals.
Oh, die. That figures.
You came here of your own free will, Earth.
Number 14. A box office disappointment. Although Flash Gordon has a massive cult following today, it wasn't a financial hit in 1980. Released in the same era as The Empire Strikes Back and Superman 2, it faced stiff competition. Audiences who expected a serious space adventure were thrown off by the campy tone, and critics were divided, with some calling it too silly for mainstream sci-fi. The movie earned modest numbers but didn't reach blockbuster status. Producer Dino De Laurentiis was disappointed, since he had banked on Flash becoming the next big franchise. Ironically, the very camp that turned audiences away in 1980 is what made it beloved decades later. Sometimes failure in the short term becomes triumph in the long run. Number 15, a planned trilogy that never happened. Believe it or not, Flash Gordon was meant to be just the beginning. The script was written with sequels in mind, and the ending even teased a continuation with Ming's glowing ring and the words "the end" on screen. Unfortunately, the movie's box office disappointment and behind-the-scenes conflicts prevented those sequels from ever materializing. Producer Dino De Laurentiis was crushed as he envisioned Flash Gordon as his answer to Star Wars. Actors like Sam J. Jones later revealed they had signed contracts for multiple films. Today, the planned trilogy is one of cinema's great what-ifs. Fans can only imagine how wild a three-part saga would have been if it had survived past its rocky debut. Number 16. The Hawkmen's Heavy Wings. The Hawkmen may look majestic flying into battle, but their giant wings caused endless trouble. Each set of wings weighed over 30 pounds and was strapped tightly to the actors' backs. Filming under hot studio lights made the experience unbearable, and several extras fainted during long takes. Brian Blessed, who played Vultan, joked that he got his daily workout just by wearing the costume. Because the wings were so heavy, most of the flying sequences relied on awkward rigs that kept the actors mostly stationary while effects teams moved the camera around them. Despite the discomfort, the Hawkmen scenes became unforgettable, with their massive charge on the rocket cycles standing out as one of the movie's most beloved moments.
It's my fault. Earth is being destroyed.
Precisely, Doctor.
Number 17, Max von Sydow's suffocating costume. Max von Sydow gave Ming the Merciless an unforgettable presence, but his costumes nearly broke him. The golden collars and layered robes were extremely heavy, sometimes weighing more than 40 pounds. Combined with the heat of studio lights, they made it hard for him to breathe. Von Sydow frequently needed breaks to recover between takes, and makeup artists were on standby to keep his look intact through sweat and exhaustion. Yet, despite the discomfort, he never complained on set. Colleagues recalled him as a consummate professional who brought dignity to even the silliest lines. His commitment made Ming a character both menacing and oddly regal, proving once again why von Sydow was one of the greats of cinema.
Never understood what you see in her.
Keep playing your bloody pipes, fool.
Number 18, Flash Gordon action figures. Like many sci-fi movies of the era, Flash Gordon launched a line of toys to tie in with the film. Action figures of Flash, Ming, and the Hawkmen were released, along with play sets and accessories. However, because the film underperformed at the box office, the toys sold poorly and were quickly pulled from shelves. Today, those same toys are highly sought after by collectors. A complete boxed figure can sell for hundreds of dollars, sometimes even more, depending on condition. Ironically, merchandise once considered a failure has become one of the most valuable legacies of the movie. It's another reminder that cult status often grows over time, turning flops into treasures for fans decades later.
Hey, big day, huh, bud? You guys want to celebrate with a little...
Number 19, Seth MacFarlane revived Flash. Decades after the movie's release, Flash Gordon got a second life thanks to Seth MacFarlane. A lifelong fan, he cast Sam J. Jones as himself in Ted, 2012, and again in Ted 2. In the film, Jones plays a wild, party-loving version of himself, complete with Flash memorabilia and over-the-top antics. These appearances introduced Flash Gordon to an entirely new generation who had never seen the 1980 movie. Jones embraced the chance to laugh at his own legacy, and audiences loved it. What began as a cult film joke became a mainstream pop culture reference once again. Thanks to Ted, Flash Gordon re-entered the cultural spotlight after decades in semi-obscurity. Number 20, Cult Legacy and Rediscovery. When Flash Gordon was released, critics mocked it, audiences were confused, and the box office was underwhelming. But over the decades, the film transformed from failure to cult classic. Its campy tone, dazzling costumes, and Queen's unforgettable soundtrack gave it a charm that serious sci-fi lacked. Musicians, filmmakers, and fans embraced it as a celebration of excess and imagination. Today, it's screened at conventions, celebrated at fan festivals, and remembered as one of the boldest, weirdest films of the 1980s. What once seemed like a misfire is now seen as visionary in its own strange way. Flash Gordon proved that sometimes being too much is exactly what makes a movie timeless. Flash Gordon may not have conquered the box office, but it conquered pop culture. From Queen's epic soundtrack to Sam J. Jones' campy heroics, the film's weirdness became its greatest strength. It stood proudly apart from the serious tone of other sci-fi films and embraced its comic strip roots. Over 40 years later, it remains one of the most unique cult classics in cinema history. So next time you hear Flash, remember, it's not just a song, it's a piece of sci-fi legend.